The film begins in 1856, depicting a group of miners laboring in a coal mine. One miner notices his bird has passed, signaling the presence of gas in the mine. He then instructs a young boy to fetch the penitent. The penitent orders everyone to step back as he prepares to release the gas. After praying, he crawls through a hole into the tunnel, lights a candle, and cautiously moves forward with a long stick. Suddenly, he spots a monstrous hand, panics, and runs back, but an explosion occurs. The scene then shifts to 1956 in Morocco, where a man named Amir is abruptly awakened by his friend. They get into a car and go to a recruiting test that will allow them to mine coal in France with good pay. Upon arriving at the selection site, the recruiter instructs them to bare their chests, explaining that those marked in red are rejected, while those marked in green can proceed. Amir's friend is rejected despite his strong build due to a cough, and Amir is initially rejected for knowing French. Desperate, Amir boldly takes the green stamp and marks himself. Impressed by his audacity, the recruiter selects him. After the selection, the chosen individuals board a bus, and the recruiter instructs a local to assign Amir to the fifth group. The scene then transitions to a coal field in northern France, where Professor Berthier and Mr. Fouassier are introduced. Fouassier takes Berthier to a monitoring station, where Michel reports they've reached 930 meters. Berthier insists on reaching 1,000 meters by the next day. Fouassier explains it will take 2 weeks to clear the area, but an impatient Berthier offers cash, prompting Fouassier to tell him to return next week. Suddenly, a bell rings, and Fouassier orders Michel to halt all operations. Next, we see a group of miners carry an injured colleague out of the mine. Berthier tells Fouassier he's going down into the mine with him. Fouassier says he already has his team, but Berthier insists. Fouassier tells Roland to stop by the office before leaving, and orders everyone back to work. Fouassier persuades Roland to go deeper into the mine despite the danger. They need a scientist to collect samples next week. Fouassier also agrees to find a French-speaking replacement trimmer from the newly arrived Moroccans for Roland. Amir joins Roland's team and is introduced to Louis, Miguel, Santini, and Polo. Roland warns Amir to follow their instructions due to his lack of experience. They descend into the mine, where Roland explains that coal seams are named after women. Polo's lamp breaks, and Roland sends Amir to assist him. Amir finds Polo with Cartouche, a blind horse. Polo explains that Cartouche was saved from slaughter by working in the mine. During lunch, Roland notices rat bites on Amir's bread and advises him to hang his bag to avoid rats. Sensing tension, Amir expresses his desire to work and be accepted. Roland responds by giving him an apple and asks him to do better. A week later, Roland's team is introduced to Berthier, who will join them in the mine for a 400-franc bonus. Berthier identifies a spot for dynamite, and after the explosion, Polo suggests using beams to widen the opening and shoring it up with Cartouche's help. Roland questions Berthier about his goal, but when he doesn't respond, Roland accuses him of withholding information and asks him to enter the cave first. Inside, the team is stunned by the cavern's vastness. Roland recounts the legend of the dams of St. Louis, where 30 miners were trapped and buried alive in a mine fire a century ago. He warns of the area's danger and the need for proper equipment. Meanwhile, Berthier ventures deeper into the cave, and Roland instructs the others to find him. As they explore further, the team finds the cave walls are limestone with pickaxe marks. Roland urges them to find Berthier quickly to get their bonus. The tunnel splits, and Roland assigns Santini and Louis to the left, takes Miguel with him, and tells Amir to choose his own path. Amir follows Santini and Louis. The trio soon discover human remains, which Louis identifies as a St. Louis miner. They find something valuable near the body, but Santini, unnerved, insists they'll be cursed. Amir notices the corpse's torn fingers and blood writing on the walls, saying they are the damned and they will return. Just then, Louis scares them with the skeleton. The three emerge from the tunnel and head toward another cave, where they spot a light in the distance. Miguel appears and tells them to dim their lamps. Roland orders them to turn off their lights, then confronts Berthier, who they just found lurking in a corner. Louis takes Berthier's camera, and Roland assures him they'll back his story. Berthier explains he wanted to explore in the dark, but Roland warns it's dangerous. Just then, Amir points to a drawing on the wall. Berthier explains that something hidden behind that wall is what he's been seeking for years. Roland tells Berthier that if he wants their help to blow it open, he needs to be honest about what they'll find. Berthier responds that it's something ancient and of priceless historical value. Miguel examines the wall and assures them he can break it open. Roland demands Berthier's word that whatever is behind the wall isn't dangerous, and that once he gets his samples, they'll be done with this. After planting the dynamite, Miguel blows open the wall, creating an entrance. They step through and are astonished by the ancient space, finding human remains. Berthier investigates a coffin, calling it a legendary god. Roland orders everyone to leave, but Berthier stays to take photos. The rest of the team steps outside, where they find Polo waiting for them. Santini starts heading up a ramp when suddenly Cartouche begins behaving erratically and runs away. Before anyone can react, the cave walls start cracking, and the structure collapses around them in a violent crash. As they stand up, they realize Santini is badly injured. He tells them he can't feel his leg, and they discover it's crushed beneath the ramp. They construct a stretcher to carry him away, but Roland notices the exit is blocked. Miguel warns that if they plant dynamite there, the entire gallery could collapse. Roland suggests they must have been heard up above, but Polo tells him no one is there. Roland then turns to Berthier, accusing him of orchestrating this and asking if he instructed Foissier to ensure only they were down there. Berthier responds that it was necessary but denies causing the cave-in. Miguel intervenes, suggesting there must be a way out since the St. Louis miners would have found one without explosives. Roland agrees, stating that if they can locate a suitable spot, they might have a chance with the dynamite. Roland instructs Polo and Louis to take Amir with them and search for a crack they can blow up to return to the mine. After a while, Louis and Polo move ahead, leaving Amir behind, who later finds them at the blown open wall. Louis allows Amir inside, but insists that he keeps silent. Meanwhile, Roland tells Miguel that more important people are coming, and won't care about the miners' jobs. Miguel wishes Berthier were on the stretcher instead of Santini, and claims Polo and Louis feel the same. Foissier interrupts, informing them that Santini has fainted, and asking for the others' whereabouts. Back in the crypt, Louis and Polo try to open the coffin. Louis threatens to slay Amir if he interferes. He explains they need to find something valuable inside to compensate for losing their bonuses and the mine closing. When they can't open it, Amir uses the artifact they found to unlock it. Inside, they find precious crystals. Louis begins gathering them and threatens Amir again when he protests. Polo urges Louis to let Amir go, and as Amir runs off, Louis warns him not to tell anyone. Later, Louis starts urinating on a skeleton, and Polo scolds him, asking if he has any respect. Louis then tries to take the crystals from Polo, but Polo refuses, saying he knows Louis too well. He suggests they give some crystals to Santini since he can't work anymore. When Louis tries to light a cigarette, Polo stops him, warning it's dangerous. Louis dismisses the warning, saying it's dangerous in the mine, not in a crypt. Meanwhile, a monstrous entity awakens inside the coffin. Suddenly, Santini points in one direction, and they all see a hand grabbing Polo from behind, dragging him away. They chase after him, but are too late and find his mutilated body later. Polo's body is brought down, and Miguel blames Berthier for his demise. Berthier, who is focused on taking a photo, admits he left his bag behind, angering Miguel, who attacks him. Roland intervenes, asking how much time Foissier has given them. Berthier replies 12 hours, and Roland notes no one will search for them for at least 10 more hours. When Roland inquires about the creature, Berthier explains it belongs to an ancient civilization that worships the sarcophagus as a god and performs sacrifices there. Amir interrupts, stating it is out of fear, and the sarcophagus is actually a prison. Roland emphasizes the need to escape first. Amir, knowing the creature's location, asks Berthier for his notebook. Since they haven't encountered it, Amir deduces it must have gone in the other direction. He and Berthier decide to retrace their steps to find it. Meanwhile, Louis, remembering Santini, rushes back with the others. The creature attacks Santini, who, before taking his last breath, expresses his fear of passing. Roland's team plans to trap the creature in a tight end. Berthier suggests using one of the tunnels and slaughtering it with a pickaxe or an explosion. Miguel cautions they lack sufficient dynamite to both slaughter the creature and create an exit. Berthier suggests returning to the crypt to translate the inscriptions after Louis questions their fate. Despite disagreement, Berthier insists it is their only escape route. Roland doubts the ancients would have left written directions, but Berthier argues they didn't live underground and likely left clues. Roland reluctantly agrees, emphasizing that they stay together and in sight. Back in the crypt, they transcribe the inscriptions and soon find a prison-like area filled with human skeletons. Berthier explains these were volunteers for trials, with survivors deemed worthy of sacrifice. A sound alerts them, and Roland instructs Miguel to watch the rear. They continue but realize they are circling back to the tomb chamber. Ahead, blood stains the pillars and floor. Berthier declares he'll go first, accepting blame for their situation. He and Amir enter the chamber and discover Cartouche's lifeless body. Amir informs Roland, adding that the monster is absent and there is only one entrance. Berthier pulls a lever, closing the chamber door. He tells Amir that if he finds a way out, the others won't need him anymore. Amir disagrees, but Berthier calls him naive and asks for help finding the solution, believing it is on the walls. Outside, Roland and his team attempt to open the door but fail. Berthier and Amir begin deciphering the inscriptions on the walls and discover that there are 9 such graves scattered around the world. They learn that at the appointed time, the sleepers within these graves will awaken. Until then, they must be sustained by volunteers. However, the inscriptions also reveal that eventually, a lord will emerge to destroy these monsters and claim a dominant position. Amir then identifies a palindrome, a phrase that reads the same forward and backward. This discovery leads Berthier to conclude that the entrance to the tomb also serves as the exit, suggesting a way out of their dire situation. At that moment, Amir notices movement in the horse and alerts Berthier, claiming it's still alive. Berthier questions this, pointing out that the horse's belly is torn open. Suddenly, the movement happens again, and Berthier urgently tells Amir to step back. In an instant, the monster bursts out of the horse's stomach, emerging before them. Berthier warns Amir to stay still and cautiously addresses the monster, acknowledging its power and suggesting that encountering it must be the result of some past good deed. As the monster moves closer, it seizes Berthier, who declares this moment as the first contact between their civilization and a god. However, the monster tightens its grip, crushing Berthier to oblivion in a horrifying instant. As the monster turns its attention to Amir, Roland manages to open the door just in time and pulls Amir to safety, trapping the creature inside. Amir then confronts Louis and instructs Roland to inspect his bag. Miguel grabs it and finds a bundle of crystals inside. Enraged, Miguel starts attacking Louis, but Roland intervenes. After examining the crystals, Roland tells Louis they should throw everything, including him, down the mine. However, he decides instead to give the crystals to the families of Polo, Santini, and Berthier. Louis argues that their priority is escaping and doubts it's possible without the professor's guidance. Amir, however, confidently assures them that he can lead the way out. As they search for a way out, the monster begins forcing the door open. Meanwhile, Amir notices symbols on the walls and starts deciphering them, using Berthier's notebook, which he had brought along. Suddenly, the monster's roar echoes through the cavern, sending the group into a panic. Roland orders everyone to stay still and turn off their lamps. As darkness falls, they hear a low growl nearby. When Louis turns on his light, the monster is revealed, standing directly in front of them. Miguel lunges at the creature in a desperate attack, but is swiftly taken out. Roland shouts at Amir to run. The monster then seizes Louis and drags him away, prompting Roland to chase after them in an attempt to save his comrade. Meanwhile, Amir hears the monster's voice and is overcome with terror. Roland soon returns and tells Amir they must leave immediately. As Roland checks Berthier's notebook, Amir confesses that he opened the tomb because Polo and Louis wanted what was inside, making it his fault. Roland brushes it off, saying it no longer matters and that their priority is escaping. Amir asks how they can do that without Miguel, and Roland responds that he has the necessary gear and knows what to do. Amir insists they must stop the monster from escaping, warning that if it reaches the surface, it will unleash devastation. Roland dismisses the idea, stating that they are merely minors and that dealing with the monster is the government's responsibility. He emphasizes that the men who passed were under his care, and he owes Amir nothing, declaring it's now every man for himself. Amir, however, points out that they are halfway along the palindrome route and insists they need to follow it correctly to find a way out. As they press forward, they stumble upon the remains of the saint, Louis miners. Roland reflects that those miners, like them, were trapped and sealed in without warning. He apologizes to Amir, believing their journey is destined to end here. But upon checking Berthier's notebook, Roland realizes there's one option they haven't tried. It is the sacrifice pit which leads directly to the surface. He asks Amir if he knows where it is. Amir explains that Berthier was likely heading there when he led them back to the tomb. He notes that Berthier used an abjad for translation, but forgot Arabic reads from right to left, so they need to reverse the directions to find the pit. As they prepare to leave, the monster suddenly grabs Amir's leg, causing him to fall. Roland tries to pull him up, but the monster drags Amir away. Refusing to give up, Roland follows the directions in Berthier's notebook and eventually finds the sacrifice pit. Meanwhile, Amir is confronted by the monster, which sits on a throne holding Louis's body. The monster slays Louis in front of Amir, who discovers a tool among the ashes nearby. The monster approaches Amir, calling him its master, and demanding to be freed in exchange for granting Amir godhood. Turns out, by opening the tomb and freeing the monster, Amir ultimately became the master. Amir resists the temptation, attacks the monster with the tool, and escapes to the sacrifice pit. As Amir climbs out, Roland helps him up and prepares to blow up the pit with dynamite. They reach a safe distance, but notice the detonator handle is stuck below. Amir retrieves it, and as the monster approaches, they trigger the explosion, destroying the pit and presumably the monster. The movie ends with the explosion, leaving their fate ambiguous.